In this video, we're going to be reviewing the Smith Wesson Model 65, or more specifically, the 65-5 model, which I have here on the table today. The Model 65 was manufactured from Smith Wesson from around 1972 to 2004. The 65-5, or in this case, the 65-5 Ladysmith, which we have here, was manufactured in the time frame of around 1991 to 2004. Now, one of the things that you're going to notice about the Smith & Wessons, they have different frame sizes. This utilizes the very popular medium-sized K-frame, similar to what you would see in a Model 66, Model 10s, and other types of Smith & Wessons that are out there. This is the round butt version as opposed to the square butt version as well. The 65s were primarily focused and sold to law enforcement, and in this case it utilizes a 3-inch barrel. So what are some of the things that I really like about this 65? The first thing is it comes with a really nice stainless steel matte finish, and that was actually specific to the Ladysmith models that they had out there. I also like the fact that it has a round butt, which in my case it just makes it much easier to fire revolvers with a round butt as opposed to a square butt configuration. Another benefit that I like, especially around the older Smiths, is in around 2001 Smith & Wesson started including these trigger lock systems in the actions. And basically what you see on the older Smiths, like this 66 K-frame as well as my 65, is that there are no trigger locks in here. And if you're collecting or you're at gun shows or things of that nature, people that are aficionados of these guns really like the older versions, the pre-2001s where these trigger locks started coming out. One of the other great things I love about the 3-inch model is just the perfect balance in my hand. It is just the 3-inch revolvers. If you've seen my videos before, you know I really like 3-inch revolvers. They just have a perfect balance to them. Another thing I like about it is it's a .357 Magnum that can also shoot .38 specials. However, this is heavy enough where I can easily shoot .357 Magnums out of here comfortably and effectively. A lot of times when you get very small pistols, such as like the J frames that are in .357 Magnum, again, simple physics. If it's very lightweight, you're going to have more felt recoil. And in some cases, you can almost get too light where it becomes uncomfortable to shoot .357 Magnums. I don't have that problem with this handgun. So I really like revolvers that can shoot .357 Magnums, and again, that's the trade-off, is the balance between the weight, the size, and the ability to handle that. What are some of the cons with the 65? Well, one of the issues that kind of plagued the 66s and 65s for a long time had to do with the forcing cones, and some of the rumors or suspicions that, you know, some of these might be cracking if you shoot a heavy dose of .357 Magnums out of them. And that largely has to do with, and I don't know if you can see this very well here, but on the 65 and the 66, at the bottom of the forcing cones is kind of flattened out a little bit, which creates a potential weaker point on the forcing cone. So one of the issues that people have had over the years is they usually say if you have a 65 or 66, they're fine to shoot .357 Magnums out of them, but try not to shoot the really low grain, high velocity .357s, and try not to shoot a lot of or heavy doses of them out of these forcing cones. Now personally, I've had my 65 and my 66 for quite a while. I've never experienced any of these problems, but again, I don't shoot a heavy dosage of .357 Magnums out of them either, so it's all contextual. As we talked about before, it is a single double action, so when you look at the trigger pull, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my liming gauge here. You can get an idea of what the trigger pull is, both single and double action. So in this case, we have 8 pounds 10 ounces, 8 pounds 9 ounces, 6 pounds 14. So it's about 8 pounds 10 ounces, give or take. For double action trigger pull, 2 pounds 12 ounces, 2 pounds 11 ounces. So roughly 2 pounds 11 ounces for the trigger pull. So again, decent trigger pull, and as well as the fact that it's got a very nice smooth trigger. Another thing I really like about the 65s are it also includes the full-length ejector. So when you looked at the ejector rod that usually have to be shortened on the J-frames, they didn't shorten it from the 66s to the 65s, and it also has a shroud around it as well. So it makes it for much easier ejection, similar to what you would see on the 4-inch models. It has the older style hammer. It has the older style hammer mounted firing pin, which again I really like. Yes, they are safe to carry on a loaded chamber, but again it just kind of doesn't have that new safety mechanism they have in there. But I like the old style hammer mounted firing pin, so that's what you'll also find on the older 65s. The other thing is the hammer as well as the trigger are also cold case hardened, so again high quality in a 65. And again, ergonomics and weight, if we want to look at how these compare to some of the other options that are out in the market today, so for example this comes in at around 1 pound 15.5 ounces. So if you compare that for example to a model 66, comes in at 2 pounds 3 ounces. A J-frame 5-shot 2-inch comes in at 1 pound 6 ounces. And then a Kimber K6S comes in around 1 pound 9.5 ounces. So it's a little bit heavier than the K6S and as well as the J-frame, but lighter certainly than the 4-inch on the same K-frame type model. Takedown and cleaning is typical revolver. They get dirty when you fire them, but again, they're highly reliable, which is why people really like them. As far as options, one of the things I often change out are the grips on my revolvers. If you've seen my videos before, these are the stock rosewood grips that come with these revolvers. And again, they look really pretty, but they're just, in my opinion, not very functional to fire. So in this case, what I bought for the 65 is the Hogue mono grips. And this is arguably one of my favorite Hogue grips that I put on my revolvers because it is a one-piece design and it fits my hand absolutely perfect. Now I have an average size hand and it just fits it perfectly. And it handles everything I fire through here very comfortably. I don't have any discomfort at all when I fire this. This is actually fantastic. And it also is a little bit shorter. You can see at the bottom as well. So again, you don't have as much printing as you would have for a longer grip like I have on the 66 here. As far as accuracy, the 65, one of the things you're going to notice about them is they have fixed sights. So they have a front fixed sight blade as well as a fixed sight rear notch. So similar that you would see, for example, in a Smith Wesson Model 10, you also see in the 65. Now, some people would say, well, I'd rather have adjustable sights like you do on the 66. But in this case, for example, if you're concealed carrying this, one of the benefits of having this is it's low profile and it doesn't snag like a typical sights would on a 66. The other thing is, as long as these are accurate, so for example, with my Model 10 and my 65, these are dead on. So as long as they're accurate for me, I don't mind these sights at all. In fact, I really like them. And the only thing I did is I just paint the sight blade on the front, kind of a blaze orange, so I can pick it up much quicker. But again, it's a very effective sight system and it's very low profile and something I really, really like. The other thing about the 65 is it's extremely accurate. Now, most of my revolvers, my good revolvers are, but I can typically shoot on par accuracy with my 65. Right on par with what I can do with my 66 with a little bit longer barrel and adjustable sight. So again, highly accurate, love the handgun. So what are some of the alternatives that are out there today? As we just alluded to, there's a couple of them out there now, like the Kimber K6S, which is out. These are currently selling in the marketplace today. Smith Wesson also currently makes a Model 66 Combat Magnum, which basically has a two-piece barrel and the trigger lock systems, as we talked about before, which again, a lot of aficionados and people that like handguns typically don't like those. And then Rossi has now recently came out with a 3-inch model as well. But again, if you want the high quality, a lot of these people are actually searching for these because the reality is, they don't really make them like this anymore, and especially with some of the features that I just talked about earlier. So as far as utility, what are these great for? Well, these are great carry pistols. They're shorter than the 4-inch barrel models. Even though it's the same frame size, they are still shorter. And just that 1-inch difference in the barrel alone can make a big difference when you're doing carry and concealed carry. The other thing I really like, again, is the round butts, as well as the fact that nothing really snags on here. It's got no sharp edges, etc. So very easy to carry and very accurate And again, it shoots 357s very effectively. So overall, this is a great value if you can find them. And that's the problem with these old 65s are, there's not a lot of them out there in circulation. A lot of times, if you're lucky, you'll find one if you can in a gun store, but more often than not, you're probably going to have your best bet finding these either online or at gun shows. And oftentimes when I go out to gun shows, I'll maybe see one or two of these in the very large gun shows they have in Arizona, but that's about it. There's not a lot out there, and there's not a lot in a condition like this, which is almost mint condition. In fact, when I bought this, I don't even know if it had been fired at all, but it is in like new condition when I got it. And the great thing about the 65 is, the longer I have it, the more I love it. The more I carry it more often than some of my other revolvers that I have, and largely just because it's a great all-around revolver that, quite honestly, holds its value really well. It will be a hand down through generations, and you know, Smith just doesn't make handguns like they used to. And the Model 65 is one of those guns that just stands the test of time. If you like this video or you like our channel, please subscribe on YouTube, and thanks for watching.